Hey there everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kevin and thank you very much for tuning in to this video. If you're new here, what I like to do on this channel is just basically talk about the hobbies that I'm into, all kinds of things that I'm interested in. And for this particular video, we will be talking about fragrance and knitting. So I will be including timestamps and chapters and all that jazz in this video so that you can skip around if you'd like and watch the stuff that you're actually into. Hopefully you like both fragrance and knitting. That would be awesome. But if not, I will be starting with the fragrance portion and then doing the knitting portion of this video after that. So without further ado, let's talk about fragrance. For this video, as far as fragrance, I will be talking about what I wore for this past week and then just, providing my thoughts on those perfumes. So the first perfume that I wore on Monday of this past week was Bel Ami by Hermes. This is an absolute classic perfume. It's a classic masculine perfume. I will say it's a kind of herbal, leathery perfume that smells absolutely sophisticated, very timeless. But I will say that the vibe this gives off is like you're ready for your cigar and a whiskey at night kind of thing. When I first smelled this perfume, it definitely felt heavy because, to be perfectly honest, this was an early blind buy for me back in the day when I'd originally gotten into perfumes. And my nose was just not really ready for this. This is a very deep, complex fragrance, in my opinion. And this is one that I feel takes some time to appreciate. So if you're new to the hobby, maybe give this a try at first. Certainly do a decant or a sample or something. Don't blind buy it like I did. And then maybe, it'll take some time to learn it, is what I'm trying to say here. And, that's not to say that you won't like it upon first sniff. That could totally be the case. But for me, it was heavier than I expected and took me some time. So I am at a point where I really, really appreciate this perfume for what it is. I think it is a piece of art, certainly timeless, and like I said, a classic perfume from Hermes. Then the second one that I wore this past Tuesday was another kind of masculine offering, but from the house of Rogue Perfumery. And this is called Monsieur. This one is a very true fougere. Like if you're trying to, if you're looking or if you're in the market for a barbershop fougere, this will fit the bill. Like this is kind of, it gives me, I don't want to say shower gel necessarily because that feels like a disservice to this fragrance, frankly. I think this is really, really beautiful. It is, let's call it elevated shower gel, shall we say. It was definitely formulated with some thought and consideration because it doesn't smell like the shower gel that you catch a whiff of at the gym necessarily. This feels sophisticated. It smells like, like you're wearing like you're about to go out and you're dressed up and maybe you're getting, a nice dinner sometime in kind of like an early evening in the summer. Or it could be a perfectly, like you're wearing a suit and you're going to work and you have some important meeting or something. This feels appropriate for that kind of a setting. It feels clean, of course, like a fougere typically does. And it feels light and fresh. And it doesn't, I don't know if I get a sense of something a little kind of minty, almost on the verge of like toothpastey, but not quite there. But that's part of what gives it that fresh scent, right? So this is another one of my favorites. I think if you haven't smelled the offerings from Rogue Perfumery, I highly recommend them. Manuel Cross is the founder and perfumer of Rogue Perfumery, and he's done some amazing fragrances. I have a few in my collection, and they've all been really, really great. Next, what I wore on Wednesday of this past week is another offering from Hermes, another classic, and this one is Rocabar. Now, Rocabar is actually a recent acquisition for me, and it was one that I smelled at an actual Hermes boutique nearby. I popped in. My budget does not allow for anything at Hermes outside of the fragrances, and even then, it's kind of pushing it. So I popped into the store just curious to see what they had. And in there, the sales associate was nice enough to kind of bear with me as I smelled through some of the Hermescence line and then some of the other offerings that they had. And at one point, she pointed out Rocabar, and she had me, take a sniff of Rocabar. And I don't know why this one I don't really hear much about online, but this is a really nice fragrance. Like, it is another classic masculine fragrance. It's woody and kind of herbal. And honestly, this feels like what I get from Celine's night clubbing without the vanilla. So this feels like that lingering, cigarette smoke accord that you get in Celine's night clubbing. But in night clubbing, there's a dose of vanilla that helps kind of round it out and make it a little sweeter. Here, you get more dryness, and I do like that here. This still feels really sophisticated and really beautiful. So I'm really happy with this perfume. Wore that on Wednesday. And then going into Thursday, I wore Eau Duelle by Diptyque, and this is the EDT. Really, really beautiful green vanilla fragrance that I've seen a lot about online. Lots of influencers talk about this one, and this is one that I feel definitely deserves the merit that it gets online, or the praise that it gets online. Both the EDT and the EDP are actually really good. I have both, and I will say that there is a slight difference to them. The actual scent profile, I would say, is very, very similar, but the EDT, as no surprise, it's no surprise that the EDT is a lot lighter. It definitely does not last long. I had to kind of overspray to get to maybe 4 or 5 hours of wear out of this perfume, and I really oversprayed. Like, I'm talking like, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10, somewhere between 8 to 10 sprays on this one, and it does, the projection just does not last. It's just not, this doesn't have the longevity, but it smells amazing. It's one of the best from Diptyque. If you're looking for something that lasts longer, then I would definitely recommend the Eau de Parfum version of Eau Duelle. I will say that while it does last longer, it definitely feels heavier as well, even though the smell itself is pretty similar. There's like a heaviness in the Eau de Parfum that I feel may be more challenging in warmer climates. So just keep that in mind. If you live somewhere warm, I would recommend the EDT. And actually, I haven't tested this myself, but I don't know, maybe the EDT might be better in warmer climates, or might project, or may last longer. just because of the warmth of your skin, helping to kind of boost the projection on that perfume. At least that's what I found during the summer when I wear some fragrances that are typically lighter wearing. When the temp is higher and the body heat is body heating, you can catch whiffs of perfume a little bit more easily, in my experience. And then let's see, what day are we on now? We are on Friday. And just for some context, this past week in Southern California has been uncharacteristically warm. We've had temps in the mid to high 80s, or even kind of pushing up to the low 90s in some cases. And so it's been really, really warm for this time of year, which has made my fragrance selection shift a little bit. For some time, I was reaching for the ambers and some of the deeper fragrances. But this past week, I was looking for something that was a little bit more, I reached for stuff that was a little more woody, a little bit lighter. Like I used the Fougere this past week, right? So yeah, that kind of explains my fragrance selections for this past week. And so for Friday, I wouldn't normally wear this one in February, but with the temps, I pulled out Philosykos, the Eau de Parfum by Diptyque. And Philosykos, just like Eau Duelle, has both an EDT and an EDP version. This is the EDP. I have a small travel size of the EDT that I got as part of a promo through Diptyque. And sometimes I wonder if I like the smell of the EDT a little bit more, just because it feels a little bit fresher and feels like it would be really great for hot temperatures. And I just like kind of the lightness that comes with it. But unfortunately, the EDT of Philosykos just disappears. I think like maybe within an hour, it just stops projecting. I don't smell it. Even on skin, I have to get really close myself just to smell the EDT. And so I've never upgraded that travel size to a full bottle. I do have the EDP, of course, and that's because the EDP does have some lasting power. And the smell is really nice as well. It's like a really nice, I think it's my favorite fig fragrance in my collection. I have a few others. I have, Studio Scent by Kismet Olfactive. I have Debaser by DS and Durga. And in my opinion, Philosykos is where it's at for a fig fragrance. I have a few fig trees in the yard, and once in a while, you'll kind of catch a whiff of the leaves and the tree itself. And it definitely smells like, like Philosykos definitely captured that smell of a fig tree and the parts of the fig. And it's really, really beautiful. It's photorealistic fig. And I will say, though, that sometimes I have to be in the mood to wear Philosykos, because sometimes I just don't want to smell like a tree. Like, is that fair? Is that not fair? But yeah, it's a really beautiful fragrance. And apparently on Friday, I did feel like smelling like a tree. So there we were. Next, for Saturday, I have, this is Cologne Indelebile by Frederic Malle. The perfumer for this one was Dominique Roupillon. And Cologne Indelebile is, as you can imagine, based on the name, a version of a classic eau de cologne fragrance, which is typically like a fresh, citrusy, sometimes herbal fragrance, but very kind of gentlemanly, like Amalfi Coast, kind of Italian seaside vibe is what I usually get from an eau de cologne style fragrance. And here it's really not an exception to that. There's definitely the citrus, there's some orange blossom in this fragrance, but the way that this was composed feels like makes it feel like it stands out from the rest. I will say there is also a musk note in this perfume, which may be kind of helping provide a roundness to this perfume that kind of softens the harsher citrus notes here and also helps with the lasting power of this fragrance. I will say that typically an eau de cologne doesn't last very long at all. It's kind of like an aftershave type thing where you spritz it on and it just kind of dissipates or maybe lingers, but very subtly for some time. This one is much longer lasting and has pretty good projection as well for some time. Again, yeah, this is really, really beautiful. I will say when I wore this, my husband was like, "What are you wearing? That smells really, really nice." And I didn't expect that. I thought typically he likes, like the heavier, kind of maybe sweeter things or maybe more floral things. Not typically the citrus fragrances, and his nose picked up on something floral in this one. And maybe that's the narcissus note or, obviously the orange blossom note in this fragrance. He thought it smelled kind of tropical. So maybe that's just the kind of mix of musk and citrus and orange blossom kind of all melding to feel like something, like giving him a tropical vibe or something. But this one got a compliment from him. So I will add this to the list of perfumes that he can tolerate as part of my collection. There are some that are on the will not tolerate list, and those are the ones that I wear when I'm working from home and he's not home. So Cologne Indelebile, another favorite of mine. And then for today, so that kind of leads us, to my scent of the day today, which is another Frederic Malle perfume. And this one is Carnal Flower. Now, I chose Carnal Flower for today because I didn't want to wear something really light again. Like yesterday, I had Cologne Indelebile, right? And it's a very fresh, very light fragrance. But I was like, it's early March. It should still be cool. Part of me just didn't want to wear something that was a warm weather fragrance because I'm just frankly not ready for that yet. I want something with a little bit more heft, a little more depth. And for me, Carnal Flower is that type of fragrance. Like it's a beautiful floral perfume, of course, as the name would suggest. But there is a kind of heaviness to this. That tuberose is like in your face in this perfume. It is very, very strong, very potent. I do one spray on each shoulder, and that is enough to smell this perfume all day and to have others smelling it around you, because it is, I hate to use this term, but it is beast mode. And so, it's what can I say? It is a beautiful white floral, a beautiful tuberose perfume that others would describe as having kind of a naughty edge. And I don't know if that's something I would necessarily associate with it. I can kind of see it being like a tropical femme fatale type fragrance, like maybe a Bond girl could be rocking Carnal Flower. She could be wearing Carnal Flower and James Bond catches a whiff of it and, is intrigued. And I've been kind of binging, side note, I've been binging the James Bond movies because they, I think, are now on Netflix or something. But Carnal Flower. Back on topic, let's rein it in. Carnal Flower by Frederic Malle was my scent of the day. And so if you're looking for a classic white floral, I would recommend this one. All right, so that pretty much wraps up my fragrance content. Would love to hear your thoughts on any of these fragrances. If you've tried them out before, what's your opinion of them? If you have them in your collection, why? Do you enjoy them? When do you wear them? I would love to hear your thoughts. All right, so with that, we conclude the perfume segment, and I will now switch over to the knitting portion of this video. All right, so for the knitting portion of this video, we are going to start, as is customary, with a finished object. And I've shared this one quite a bit on Instagram because I'm just really, really proud of it. This is the Eva Cardigan by PetiteKnit. Really, really happy with how this one turned out. This was my first ever cardigan project, and I am happy to report that it was completed without really any hitches. As is typical with PetiteKnit patterns, it was very easy to follow. I didn't ever feel like there was any portion of it that was particularly tricky. I think also that was because the button band or the placket here is knit in 2x2 rib instead of double knitting. I think maybe that made it kind of easier. I feel kind of intimidated by the double knit button band. That's going to be that'll be my next cardigan project for sure. I want to get, I actually already have pinned down a pattern that I want to do in cashmere, but I will wait maybe for some time until I take on that project. But today we are talking about the Eva Cardigan. This I knit in 2 yarns. The first was Loco's Here Flora Good Time, which is in their kind of DK base. And then I held it with Knitting for Olives Soft Silk Mohair in the colorway Dusty Violet. It came out really, really nice. I love it. And I don't know if you can see it on video, but I will also include some photos here so you can take a look at it. But I really, really love how the soft silk mohair, or this mohair, kind of toned down the kind of variegation in the Loco yarn, but it kind of all made it a cohesive, it kind of worked out to be cohesive, this combination, and I really, really am happy with it. I also, for the buttons, chose these kind of mother of pearl buttons that I really love. They pulled some of the green and kind of purple and gray tones out of the yarn combo that I picked here. So it just really went well with this yarn, in my opinion. And it's a really warm garment. I was able to use it for a little bit when the temps were still cold, but because this past week was really warm in Southern California, I have not been able to put this one on. But yeah, this was a really, really great knit. I am really excited to try another cardigan pattern sometime in the future, like I said. And I'm happy that my first one was a PetiteKnit pattern, because that always gives me the confidence to, take on projects. It's like the Monday sweater I did with PetiteKnit. It's a PetiteKnit pattern. And after I completed that without really any hitches, I just felt like this extra kind of boost of confidence to be able to take on all kinds of other projects. So yeah, very inspired to try other things. So that was my only finished object, recent one that I haven't shared on the channel yet. So let me kind of move on to whips here. And starting with what I think I've already shown on the channel and also on Instagram, but this is my Olga Sweater by PetiteKnit. I am all done with the body and the hem. and the neckband here. And I'm really, really happy with how this turned out. If I'm going to be honest though, I think I preferred the fabric when it was, you know, when I was still working on the yoke and it wasn't like too much. But I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but sometimes it's like when I get through when I'm like working through the body, and maybe it's just because sometimes it can feel like a slog. But when I got through it all, it just felt like a lot of fabric. Like it just felt like a lot. I think mainly because I'm using this kind of Suri DK here, which, don't get me wrong, is a really wonderful yarn, and it feels great, but it just feels warm, like really warm. And for some people, a lot of people probably, that's a good thing. But for me, and with the temps we've been having, it's just felt like I didn't want to, you know, touch this project until the temps start to cool down again. It's a little warm on the hand. So, complaints aside, this is a wonderful, wonderful project so far. I'm having a great time doing the striping. I will say, and kind of back to the yarn, I really, really enjoy the superwash merino that I used here for the darker stripes. This is Manos del Uruguay's Marla yarn, which is a superwash, like I mentioned. And yeah, it's really squishy, really nice to knit with, no problems with it whatsoever. I did have issues, not huge issues, but I think the challenge of working with the Suri DK was really apparent working side by side with the Marla, just because I noticed the difference between these two yarns and how they behaved on my needles. Just because of this, you know, I'm striping, so I'm alternating, and I can tell which one I like to use more than the other. And the superwash merino was a lot more pleasant to knit than the Suri. The Suri would kind of get snagged on my needle, or kind of, I don't know, it's not really splitting, but it would kind of like clump because the yarn is so fuzzy and fluffy. And it also made it a nightmare to frog at the hem. So one hitch that I did run into with this pattern was that at the end of the body, there is a step to add some double knitting, and I did that. Then when I tried it on, it was just too tight. There was like no give on, like it would just not stretch anymore. And so it like kind of awkwardly hugged my hip, but in a way that was not super comfortable. So I attempted to frog at a point that would be like optimal, like I would only frog up to the point that I really needed. But when I tried to do that, it was just not happening. It was not going according to plan whatsoever. So I had to revert to plan B and, you know, kind of pick up the stitches in a earlier stripe, like I guess go back, way back. I tried to frog within the ribbing is what I'm trying to say. And because that was not successful, I had to frog all the way back to the stockinette portion of the body. And that was mostly because the Suri was just such a challenge to kind of like get through and to find the stitches and to pick up the stitches where I wanted. And it's just kind of harder to decipher my stitches because of the way the Suri is and how fluffy it is. So at the end of the day, I figured it out. All is good. And now, you know, we have a pretty stretchy ribbing at the bottom here. So all I have to do now are both of the sleeves, and then I will be done with the Olga sweater and can wear this thing loud and proud. Very excited. Yeah, this is wonderful. And then my other whip is the In Stillness 2 sweater that I am knitting up for my husband. This is it right here. I am going through the sleeve, the first sleeve here, and making some progress right here. It's actually going really well. When I finished the body of this sweater and I was like going to start the sleeves, I don't know if anybody else, I think it is probably very common to hear about it all the time, but like just the thought of having to do the sleeves was already like so, I don't know, daunting or just exhausting. Like I just want to be done with this thing already. But it's just like, I'd say it's probably like similar to convincing yourself to go to the gym, where most of the battle is really just getting yourself there, and then it's like a breeze once you're there. With the sleeves, it was just as soon as I picked up the stitches and did a few rows, and I was like getting my momentum going, became much easier, much more doable. And I suspect that when I finish this first sleeve and then I start the second sleeve, or I'm going to start the second sleeve, I'm going to encounter that same kind of mental hurdle with doing the second sleeve. So I am coaching myself, trying to be self-aware about how I'm thinking about my knitting, and make sure that I'm not discouraging myself unnecessarily, and can just kind of like continue through this project, no problem. So that is the In Stillness 2 sweater by Alicia Plummer that I'm knitting for my husband, and I'm very excited about it. Ooh, I should probably mention actually some more detail on this. This was knit with Cascade 220 superwash, and I chose a superwash yarn for this because I wanted it to be low maintenance kind of garment for my husband, so that he can just kind of throw it into the washer and not have to be too gentle with it. So yeah, I think the other reason is not only is the maintenance easier, but also it should be less itchy. He doesn't have much of a tolerance for kind of toothier yarns. And so I think he's always going to need something superwash. And this totally fit the bill. And the color was really nice. I'm really, really happy with the color. And yeah, should be hopefully wrapping up the rest of the sleeve this evening, the first sleeve this evening, and then working through the second sleeve sometime after that. All right, so that covers the whips. And for the rest of this video, I wanted to talk about a few swatches that I've done, because those are really, really fun. I've enjoyed swatching a lot, and it's helped me figure out if I like a fabric or a yarn or not. Or sometimes even like I think that this, and I'll get into that with the swatches, but let's just dive into my swatches here and we can start, talking about them. The first swatch that I want to talk about is this one right here. And I'll show you actually, so you can take a look. This is Holstgarn Coast held double. And it's on 3.5 millimeter needles, and I got a gauge of 22 stitches on this one. So yeah, this is in the cherry color. Really, really like this color. Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know, yeah, I guess cherry's the right word for this. I was gonna try to come up with something else, but it already has a name. Yeah, this is a blend of cotton and merino. I forgot what the exact ratio is, but to me this feels, I was going to make a t-shirt, but feeling this yarn now, it feels like it's going to be a little warm and maybe a little too sticky in kind of warmer weather, so I'm not entirely convinced that it's going to be the greatest yarn for when things heat up even more. But I bought enough of this to make a t-shirt. So I will be making the t-shirt, and I'm thinking that I will make the t-shirt pretty oversized to make it a little bit more roomy and also airy, and hopefully that'll help with some of my apprehensions of this yarn. Although I will say this yarn is really well praised online from what I've seen. And so I think obviously my opinion is just coming from this tiny little swatch. So once I knit up the full thing, then I will definitely have a much better sense of how this fabric will feel ultimately. So yeah, that is Holstgarn Coast. And then the next swatch is another cotton and merino blend, and this is Knitting for Olive's Cotton Merino, which I think many of us are familiar with or have heard about. And this is in the, let me show you again, this is in the colors Buttercup and Dusty Banana. I was originally going to make, I was swatching this originally for another Olga sweater because I really, really loved how my current Olga sweater was knitting up, and I wanted another striped sweater, and I wanted one that I could wear maybe in the spring or summer. So I turned to Cotton Merino by Knitting for Olive as a potential yarn choice for that project. And I will say that between Cotton Merino and Holstgarn Coast, right now, based on swatches, the Cotton Merino feels a lot nicer to me. It feels cooler in the hand. It, yeah, it just feels like it will, this is the kind of fabric that I think will be really pleasant in warmer temperatures. But again, it'll just, I'd have to kind of knit up the full garment and give it an actual wear in hot temperature to confirm if that is true. This swatch was knit on 4mm needles, and I achieved a gauge of 20.5 stitches pre-block, and then post-block I ended up with 19 stitches. So this one grew a little bit, which again is really useful information when you're swatching. Another reason why I like to swatch. And I do want to show you, another reason I've been really enjoying swatching is because I've been doing this thing now where I create these little tags on my swatches with all the information about what yarn it is, what needle size I used, and then my gauge pre-block and post-block, so I can refer back to it. And it's useful information, not just for the project that I'm thinking about doing, but also for future projects that I might want to use with this particular yarn. So yeah, I am coming up with a pretty sizable swatch library, and it's really satisfying. I'm enjoying it a lot. So yeah, Cotton Merino, held double, really great combination. And now that I'm thinking about it too, maybe the Holstgarn Coast it just felt maybe denser because I used 3.5mm needles for this particular swatch. I wonder if I were to knit up Holstgarn Coast held double on 4mm needles, if the larger needle size will somehow make the fabric feel a little bit more, because it'll be a looser gauge, feel a little cooler to the touch. So that might be something I want to try. That's maybe I'll do that before the next video. The next swatch I have here is a classic combination. This is Knitting for Olive's Merino with their soft silk mohair. And this is in the colorway, I believe this is Blue Whale and Dusty Blue Whale, but it is like a really great dark blue color, a little bit, has kind of like a dark gray tone to it, but really great, and should come as no surprise that the combination of Knitting for Olives Merino and Soft Silk Mohair is a very pleasant combination. It's of course popular, very popular for a reason. This was knit on 4.5mm needles. I achieved a gauge of 21 stitches pre-block and then 19.5 stitches post-block. So yeah, this is a great one. I forgot which project I was going to do with this particular yarn, but you know, there are so many patterns out there that I can use this combination for. So I'll just have to dig through my Ravelry queue, which is growing every day, and to pick what project I want to use this yarn for. Next swatch, I know exactly what I'm going to use this yarn for. This is Rosa Pomar's BlueSky yarn in an olive green kind of colorway. Really, really beautiful. Did I just show you the back or did I show you the front? Let's take a look at it again so you can see, just to make sure. This was knit on 4.5mm needles, and I achieved a gauge, pre-block gauge of 21 stitches, and then post-block it was 19.5 stitches. So with this particular yarn, I will be making the Pellica vest by Rosa Pomar, and I'm really excited to have this olive green. I'm very excited to use this olive green color for that vest. And actually, the reason why I'm also excited is because I want to make, if I don't use, bringing back this swatch, but if I don't use these colors for the Olga sweater, I will definitely be using this color combination for some type of a striped sweater pattern, like summer or spring transitional sweater, because this is cotton merino, and I really, really like the combination of this olive green with the dusty banana and the buttercup, like this yellow and this kind of like creamy beigey thing with the olive. I think really fun combination there. Like in my head, I'm thinking I'll have like a striped sweater with a vest over it, and it would just be really cute. So yeah, really excited about doing this project. Those are up there in my Ravelry queue. I think these are probably my top 2 on my Ravelry queue. So yeah, very excited. The next swatch I have is this really, really vibrant green color. This is Durerum Natura's Gilead, and it was knit on 4.5mm needles. I achieved a gauge of 21 stitches pre-block, and actually it didn't change post-block, so I also got 21 stitches after blocking this swatch. And for this particular, with this particular yarn, I think what I have in my Ravelry queue is to knit the Sunday brunch sweater with this yarn. And so yeah, I think that particular sweater, if memory serves, is a V-neck sweater. And so I wanted, because the V-neck to me feels maybe a little bit more casual, I wanted a color that would be fun and bright and vibrant. And that's what we get with this. So yeah, Durerum Natura Gilead. This is a woolen spun yarn that is another very popular yarn choice for many, and I can see why. This one doesn't feel itchy against skin. It's a really, really pleasant yarn. It's soft, and it knits up to a nicely kind of dense fabric without feeling too heavy. So it's a wonderful yarn to use. The next yarn I have here is another vibrant color, this time in a very vibrant blue. This is Knitting for Olive Merino, held double in the colorway Peacock. I think this is one of their newer releases, actually. It's just like really beautiful, vibrant blue that when I saw it online, I just could not pass up. So I ordered a sweater quantity of this one, and I think what I have in my Ravelry queue for this project is I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but I think it's Tane Sweater by Rebecca Clow, and it's featured in the new 52 Weeks of Sweaters book by Lineup Publishing. I don't have that book. I haven't pre-ordered the book, so I won't have the pattern for some time, but I suspect that I'll maybe buy the book down the road if I really, am ready to kind of pull the trigger on this project. But for now, I got the yarn because I know that this particular yarn can be used for all sorts of projects, whether I do that sweater or another. I know that this is a really, really nice combination. It knits up really beautifully. It's super soft. This particular swatch was knit on 4.5 millimeter needles. And as far as gauge, I got 20.5 stitches pre-block, and then post-block, I got 20 stitches. So it stayed mostly unchanged post-blocking. Yeah, this is a really, really nice blue color. So I'm hoping to do something with this yarn in the near future. If you have any ideas, please share them in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys think I should use that yarn for. The next yarn here is it's not another Knitting for Olive. This is actually a Sandnes yarn. This is another one of my favorites. This is Pure Gint. And I believe this is in the colorway Dusty Noir. Pure Gint is like such an interesting yarn because, I don't know, I hear kind of mixed reviews on it. Some people say it's a little too rustic for them. Some say it's like really soft and they don't feel any kind of itch. But I think that's kind of that's the interesting part about it. I think that pre-block Pure Gint, you definitely feel a little bit more of that toothiness, but once you give it a nice wash and you use like a wool wash with it, it softens and becomes its final form. And in its final form, it feels a lot softer. It's a really easy to work with yarn in my experience. Knitting this swatch was really pleasant. I never felt like it was splitting or that it was it never felt challenging to use. So I really, really enjoyed it. This particular swatch was knit on 4 millimeter needles. And as far as gauge, I got 20.5 stitches pre-block and then 20 stitches post-blocks. Okay, sorry, my automated lighting system at home just turned on and totally screwed up the lighting. So we are going to continue talking about Pure Gint by Sandnes Garn. And I think I was saying that there wasn't too much of a change between the pre-block and the post-block gauge for this particular swatch. It was 20.5 stitches pre-block and then 20 stitches post-block. So yeah, this is really great. I can't remember what I have in my Ravelry queue that I will be using this particular yarn for, but this is a great kind of like really, really dark gray brown. I think I see some hint of like brown in it, but it's on the verge of like a really dark gray. So it's a very beautiful yarn and I'm excited to use it. And then last but not least, in my favorite color, I have another swatch here. I absolutely love orange. I think orange is my favorite color, all shades of orange. From this kind of bright neon kind of orange to kind of a rust orange. I like all of it. But this yarn is, or this swatch is knit in Pure Gint by Sandnes Garn, held with Knitting for Olive's soft silk mohair. And it's really, really nice. It's like a really bright orange, and it's fun and energizing. And I used 5mm needles for this swatch. Pre-block, it was 17 stitches as far as gauge. And then post-block, it became 16 stitches. So it grew after blocking, which is not a surprise. But yeah, this is such a great color, and I just mentioned Pure Gint, like I said, is really great to work with. It just, adding the mohair to it gives it more of a halo effect. So this would be, I actually really, really like it. It feels like a much, much warmer fabric than just Pure Gint alone. So I would say if you're looking for kind of a fuzzy and warmer garment, then Pure Gint plus a mohair is a great combination. But if you're looking for something that's going to be a little bit easier to kind of throw on and not be too much, Pure Gint on its own is a good option to go with. So that kind of concludes the swatches that I have recently. I have a few more, but I feel like I only wanted to talk about these. So if you have any thoughts about any of these yarns that I just talked about, these swatches, if you have any thoughts on some of my whips, and yeah, please share them. Please leave a comment below. Please like the video. Certainly, please do subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Subscribing will help grow this channel and grow it to become what I am hoping it will become, which is a place for me to kind of meet like-minded folks who are interested in similar things that I am, and to basically build community. So I'm so glad that you tuned in, and I appreciate the time and the attention that you spared me today to watch this video, and hope you like what you saw, what you heard, and that you tune in for the next one. So until that next one, take care.